Hey, it's Matt here, the resume guy, helping you fix, flip, or fabricate your resume to get that next job. I'm going to run through how to edit this resume template, which I have created. And if you want to get this resume template, feel free to reach out to me through the link in the description. So when you open it up, it looks about like this, and it's actually designed as a table. So if you select anywhere within the page, then you go to Layout up at the top here and click View Grid Lines, and then you'll be able to see the whole document as a table. So that really helps you get a feel for how it's formatted and allows you to edit it as it's meant to be edited. As you can see, this allows us to left align and right align based on where we're at. So for instance, this first line here, we have left align for the company name and then right align for the city and then the dates. So allows for very clean look and eliminates the hassle of having to tab it over. So all of this text is done through the styles that Microsoft has. So up at the top here, you can see that I've created styles for the dates. So each of these is under the dates for the descriptions. So that's all the bullet points underneath. There's one called employer school that is for the employer at the top there, and it's in bold. One that's called headings for each of these headings. Job title for the title below each position, and then location, which is right aligned for this location over here. Also have one for name, and I'll run over. There we go. There's the rest of them. So that's all the styles that I have set up. You can also click to open the style pane, which allows you to view the rest of the headings here. So that helps out with being able to understand how it's formatted. Now for each text element, you want to make sure that it stays up to date within the styles pane so that all of the text matches, because or else you're going to have a resume that looks kind of thrown together if the text does not match. So for instance, say I wanted to increase this text size to 13, 14, which I would never really want to do, but say I were to do that, and then I could change the line spacing to say 6 points after that line. Then if after I make that change, I'm going to right click on description and click update to match selection, and it will update everything that's under the description style as that text. So it will increase everything to 0.14 font and add some spacing after each line. So once again, don't really want that for this resume, but that's how you go about changing the styles. So for instance, if I were just a little bit over on space, say this was size 13, and that doesn't look so bad, but say I'm over by that much space, what I can do is I can just adjust that down to 12 where I had it, and this is kind of the process I go through every time, and then I'm back down to a page. So that's a really easy way to adjust your spacing. For instance, you can play around with the size of this name or each of the headings to adjust your spacing and make sure you fill a whole page but don't go over. So what I do a lot to adjust that is I'll go to the line spacing options, and for instance this is at 1 right now, so lots of times say I'm not quite at a page right now, I'll go to 2 and then go ahead and update to match selection once again, and then maybe I've filled the page if I had not filled the page already. Let's see, get back here. Okay, So that's how you go ahead and edit all the styles, and how that is set up. So it's important that you don't just edit the text, but you do update that style every time, because or else it will cause headaches in the future with different text being different styles, and just not being able to easily change the text every time that you want to change it. So that really allows for a lot of ease when you do that. Now, another issue that people have is trying to insert a new section. So say I got another job and I wanted to insert a new section here. So a really easy way to do this, and for some people it doesn't always work, but the easiest way is to make sure you select both of these boxes, the whole box, and then go ahead and pull down, and you'll get all three in this section selected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy Control C, and then I'll go ahead and below, I'll just click in the box here, and it's going to insert below. So this is going to go below Cummins, and I'm going to select this drop down under the paste menu, and I'm going to click insert as new rows. And so what that does is it takes my selection and it basically just inserts it as new rows. So now what I can do is go ahead and just change, let's say I want to edit this more recent one. I'll go ahead and change it to whatever company I go work for, and then go ahead and change all the bullet points that way. So it makes it really easy to add a new section. Now, while I'm here and it looks like this, it is very important to go ahead and pull up and make sure that each cell is always pulled up to where it needs to be, because or else you can have some rogue spacing. So for instance, if I'm like that, then I've got some extra spacing. So just go ahead and make sure you pull up each row every time. It's pretty easy just to accidentally do that, but so just make sure that you pull up after each time there. So that's one way to do it. Some people that it's kind of difficult to do that, so I'll go ahead and delete those rows. So let me do that again so you can see how that's done. So in order to delete a row, what you're going to do is you're going to select like that, same way we did earlier. Go ahead and right click and click delete cells. And then in this case, we want to delete the entire row. So we're going to just click delete entire row and click OK. So now we're back to where we started. So another way to add in, and this is kind of brute force adding in new rows, go ahead and go to layout and then go to insert below. And I'll usually add, let's see, I need 2 more rows. So I'll go ahead and do that. And then for these ones, I will merge them. So I'll go ahead and merge there. And what I would do, and let me get all this selected, and I'll copy this, paste it into here, and then for some reason it usually does this where the last line is a different style. All you have to do for that is go ahead and reapply the description style. So go ahead and reapply that description style, and now we essentially have a new row. So I'll go ahead and copy this in, because that's just an easy way to do it, and it comes up. And once again, we have to edit this style. So we're going to go ahead and make this the job title style, and then this one will be the date style. One important note, and it's kind of a personal design thing, but anyhow, I like to have each line be the same text. So for instance, if I update this job title, and let's say I make it a larger text size, then I would really want to make sure that I update date as well, especially if it's the text size that you're editing. If some people like to do italicized on the left and not italicized on the right, that's fine. But I really do like to keep them the same text style. So just make sure that when you update dates or job title, as well as employer, school, or location, that you try to match them, and with line spacing as well. If you wanted to go ahead and, for instance, add a new like leadership and activities section, the easiest way to do that is probably to do the insert row. That's going to be the easiest way. So I copied it, and then I'll go down here and go paste, insert as new row. Otherwise it gets difficult. You have to move a lot of things around, and you can do that based on what I just showed you, but it'll just take a bit of time. So play around with that as you wish. I'm going to go ahead and delete these extra rows so we're back to one page. Okay. Now, another thing that people want to do if your resume isn't very full is to change the margin sizes. So in order to do that, we'll go to Layout and then Margins, and you can edit the margins as you wish. So you can go to Custom Margins. Typical one is say 0.5. So make that the case for all of them. And we'll click OK. And as you can see, it moved the table down, but the sides are still stayed the same. So the reason for that is that the table size is held constant. So no matter what the margins are, the table size is still the same. So what we do is, you see these 4 arrows up at the left here. If we hover over those, we'll get 4 arrows ourselves. Go ahead and right click and then click Table Properties. And then you can change this preferred width. So what that preferred width should be is it should be the size of the width of the paper, which is 8.5 inches, minus the margin size. So for instance, we've got margins of 1/2 inch, so times 2 for each side, so that's 1 inch. So we're going to go 7.5 inches for the margin size, because that's what fits within the margins. Now, another important note, sorry about that, when we're in the table properties, is that the alignment, so for instance, this is left to right alignment, it should always be center, because you want your resume to be in the center of the page. Now, also another thing is, I hate the look of hyperlinks in a resume. I think it's pretty unprofessional, even with how much people look at it on their computers. I think you shouldn't really have a blue hyperlink in a resume. So what I do for that, and I think is pretty nice, especially with people looking at it on their computers, is I go ahead and go, there's a style for hyperlink, and this is just kind of by default. So you can see it in the right pane here. So I'll click the drop down on that, and I'll click Modify Style. And then as you can see, it's a blue with an underline, and that's what a hyperlink usually looks like. So all I do is I unclick the blue, or unclick the underline, and then make it black again. And that's just a nice way to still have the hyperlink in there, especially in a PDF, but not have the blue underline, which can just be kind of unappealing, especially when you print it off. Now, another thing that I wanted to cover is how to adjust borders. So for instance, you see that I have this underline under experience here. So if I wanted to, for some reason, change or remove that border, one good example of this is if I were to add another section here, as we kind of talked about earlier. So let's say I wanted to add another section, and we can call it awards. So if I wanted to remove all of these interior borders and just leave the lower ones, what I can do is, it's pretty easy with just this cell. So I'll go to the home and click this drop down right here, and then go to borders and shading. And what I can do is just unclick both of these borders. Now, if I wanted to just edit the border, what I would do is I would do that same thing where I unclick them, and then let's say I wanted to increase the size of that border. So I can go and make it a bigger size, and then I'll re-click them. And that goes ahead and it applies that to the text box. So I'll go ahead and remove both of those, and this is another way to do that, just so you see that as well. But there we go. Then those two borders are removed. What I used to have on this resume template, and I ended up getting rid of, but some people still have it, is borders separating each experience within a section. So, for instance, a lot of those have, I think it's, don't quote me on this, you should check it yourself, but I think it's 3/4 point and some sort of a gray underneath each of these lines. So if I wanted to do that, then I could go ahead and apply it, and that would add a border there, and you can't see it right now, but if we go ahead and remove the grid lines, you can see it now. So if you want to edit the borders, that's how you go about doing that. And if I were to want to, like I said, kind of figure out what border is underneath this so that I can apply it to a different cell, which might be necessary, is you go to borders and shadings, and it should just pop up with, you know, whatever style that is applied to the border currently. So that's a good way to check, and then go ahead and apply that to other cells. So that's how borders work. Pretty simple and straightforward. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these rows now. And it looks like these addresses for some reason have moved their way up. So we'll go through how to fix that. In a table, you can see right here there are different selections for alignment horizontally and vertically. So for instance, for this one, I like it in the center. So I'll click center left align, and then I'll do the same thing for this one, except right align, so center right align. And that's just a good way to keep that up to date. So I think that's pretty much all that I wanted to cover. Hopefully this will allow you to tweak your resume and really make it specific to you, and fit the amount of experience that you have with the formatting and everything else. So thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later. Matt the Resume Guy, over and out.